Do you want to learn how to rock your exhaust headers? Then go ahead and change the channel because I don't know what I'm doing and I'm about ready to give it a try. Welcome back to Steve's Project Car Garage. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be wrapping the headers on my 1970 Triumph Spitfire. I've never done this before, so this is going to be a first-hand experience and kind of maybe learn from some of the mistakes that I make along the way, but I don't think it's going to be all that bad. So grab yourself a cup of Jitter Juice and stick around. So this is the product that I have. This is from a company called MAS. It's E-Wrap Gold. This is a basalt and fiberglass based header wrap. I got it from Amazon, ran me about 20 bucks or so. And these are the headers that I have. So these headers are off of the Spitfire. My brother gave me these a few years ago off of his Spitfire. And so these are, pretty well, proven headers that we've got here. So what we did is we got these guys already painted. These were painted with the Master Coat Hot Jet or Jet Hot, whatever you want to call it, paint. And so these got a nice layer of protection on them already. But what we're going to do now is we're going to add a little bit of extra protection by using this exhaust wrap. So exhaust wrap may be a little bit overkill for what I'm trying to do, but the reality is that I'm here in Florida and these headers sit directly below the carburetors. So because of that, I want to really kind of try to keep as much heat away from the carburetors and out of the engine bay as possible. So using the exhaust wrap should be able to go ahead and accomplish that goal. Once I have the exhaust wrapped up done here and it has fully dried, I'm going to use a product from DEI that is a silicone-based spray paint that is made for header wrap specifically. That'll go ahead and help protect all of the header wrap from moisture and water. So it'll have a nice silicone, barrier on it. And that way also won't absorb any kind of grease, oils, and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get myself changed because I got this nice new shirt for Christmas and I don't want to get it all covered up with fiberglass. So stick around, we'll be back in just a moment. All right, so to get started, I got a bowl here of some water. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the wrap into that bowl of water and we're going to let it soak for about 5 minutes. And this will go ahead and make it a little easier to work with as we're going to go ahead and lay this stuff on out onto the actual headers. I'm wearing gloves because, this being a fiberglass based product, I really don't feel like getting it all over myself, and that's why I jumped and put on some different clothes. So if you're going to work with this stuff, I would recommend doing it as well. I'm just going to go ahead and soak this guy on in here. Give it about 5 minutes or so. Now, while that's soaking, I'm going to put that off to the side. Now, we're going to take a look at these headers. I'm going to kind of maybe try to explain and figure out what my process is going to be. So these headers are really, really tight. And I think that what's going to end up having to happen is I will wrap this guy by itself and then wrap this guy by itself down to about here. And then once I got it down here, maybe just a little bit past, I'm not going to really be able to pass any of the wrap through these pipes because it's really narrow. And so what'll end up most likely happening is I'll wrap that one coming down, and then we'll start down here at the bottom towards the collector, and we'll wrap this all up as one piece. And we'll wrap that all together going up. And then once we get up to around here, we're just going to keep wrapping up. And we're going to wrap it in an upward direction. We're going to use the stainless steel zip ties to go ahead and wrap it all together and kind of cinch it up. So that's kind of what my plan is. Hopefully it'll work out all right. We'll see. I've watched a few videos, one of which was from DEI, and they're a really big name in exhaust header wrap. And they make some more higher end stuff. For what I'm doing here, I didn't really want to spend a ton of money and get the high end stuff, because I'm not racing. This thing is not turbocharged or supercharged. This is just mainly for just trying to keep the temperatures down within the actual engine bay itself and away from the, the carburetors, like I mentioned earlier. So that's my plan. I'm going to go ahead and I'll show you how I'm going to kind of pre-measure some of this stuff once we get it soaked. And we'll go ahead and give it a try and see if we can do this without messing it up too much. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes, and we're gonna go ahead and take out the wrap. We're just gonna kind of let it drain off real quick. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna first measure how much wrap we need to do this first small run. And then we should be able to use the same amount for the other side because it's symmetrical, thankfully. So that should be the first thing that we do. And just let this kind of drain. It's got a lot of water in it. The water allows you to be able to pull it a little bit tighter. It makes it a little more malleable, while also reducing on the fiberglass dust, because, well, we don't want fiberglass dust in the air, do we? All right, so that's where we're going to start. I think that's pretty decent. All right. So to kind of figure out how much you need to get started, because obviously you don't want to be trying to wrap the entire roll. It's 50 feet around in here. We're going to go ahead and start by just cutting off some of this frayed bits here at the end. And get that all off to the side. And so now we got the wrap material here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and place it sort of like that, and make kind of like a half moon shape. And then I'm gonna just kind of overlap it a couple of times so I can kind of get a feel for about how much wrap I'm actually gonna need. And I'm just gonna work my way up the pipe. And this should allow me to have more than enough wrap to go on up, and then I'll give myself probably an extra foot or so. So as you can see, that's kind of what I got here. I'll lower you down a little bit more. You can kind of see here, by doing that kind of short overlap, that allows me to be able to get an idea. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this guy right here. And we're gonna kind of just start wrapping. So you notice you got the frayed end. So what we want to do is fold that frayed end over, so that way it doesn't continue to fray. I'm going to wedge this down as far as I can into the pipe, so that way it will kind of help to hold it in place. Okay, and now I'm going to just start trying to wrap it by pulling it up and keeping a nice tight amount of pressure and tension on it. And now I want to give it about a 1/4 inch or so, maybe even a little bit more of overlap. And then just keep pulling it nice and tight as I go about doing this. And we're going to just keep wrapping, going in the upward direction until we get to the very top. Pulling it tight and tight and tight. And there we go, we're at the top. So now, got that little bit of extra that I gave myself. I'm gonna cut that. And like we did before, we're gonna fold over the end. Which will help keep it from fraying. I think maybe what we'll do is we'll just clean up some of those little frays there. Hold that nice and tight there. And this is where these stainless steel zip ties are going to come into play. Now, some of these stainless steel zip ties are a real pain to work with. So this is my first time ever working with them. I've just seen a lot of people talking about how they're difficult. So I think we're going to learn firsthand how difficult they actually can be. Pull it through. This definitely feels like one of those jobs that's good to have a second set of hands for. Alright, so we got that tight there, but we're going to tighten it up even more. Alright, so DEI makes a little tool that you can buy that allows you to kind of cinch this up, but I'm going to actually just use a pair of pliers, and I'm going to see if I can just kind of pull it tight simply by just kind of putting them on there and then turning it. And it looks like I may have actually broke my tie doing that, but I broke it on the end that's okay to break because you're going to cut this off anyways. So all right, well, told you this isn't the video you want to watch if you want to learn how to do this right. There we go. Now I got that cut. I'm just going to press that together so that way it won't come apart. Maybe. All right, so that's one done. Doesn't look terrible. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process on the other side, and then yeah, we'll start in the middle. All right, so there we go. Got both sides done. Looks pretty decent. May end up throwing a second zip tie on each one of these just to kind of get that second little part there, just to hold it down. But we'll worry about that in a little bit. So the next bit that we're going to do though is we're going to start working on the collector. And so my plan is to wrap the collector and then just keep going around. And we're going to wrap this all as one big piece. And then once we've got that all wrapped up as one big piece, we'll then just keep going around like this. And then eventually we'll get up to right about here. And then we're going to stop doing the dual wrap. And then we're just going to go back to a single wrap going over all of this. So again, as before, I'm going to try to just pre-measure how much I'm going to need. So that way I'm not trying to wrap an entire roll in there, because, well, that's going to be a pain. So we're going to start like right there. Go over, come back. Go over, come back. And so on and so forth. You get the drift. So let me get this figured out, and then we'll go ahead and start wrapping. All right, so I got this laid out. This is enough to go ahead and, should be at least, to go ahead and do the whole collector. You kind of see how I've got it just sort of patterned out. So I'm going to start at the bottom, just like I said I would, and we're just going to work our way on up. So again, I just clean up this edge a little bit, get the last little bit of schmutz off of here. And I'm gonna try to start right at the base of the collector. All right, so I want to start like right down here, which is right at the base of where the collector starts to kind of fan out. And yeah, we're just gonna go. And actually, for the interest of my sanity, I'm going to hang it over like this, because I think if I try to do it any other way, it's probably not going to stick. Again, first wrap is going to make that nice and tight. I'm sure there's some hot rodders out there yelling at me or something, saying I'm doing this wrong, and they're probably right. That's okay. I've never done this before, so everyone's got to learn by doing it at some point. And see, this is where I was kind of thinking it's going to be a little bit fun, because there's this bend here. You don't want the wrap to really fold and double over itself and make big kinks. But I think in these corner sections, that's going to be almost impossible. See, that's super loose there. That's going to use way more wrap than I had anticipated using. But that actually does do a pretty decent job. So let's just see.
A few moments later.
The big question is, did I leave myself enough, because I ended up having to do that extra bit down below? We'll find out. Long string there. See if we can just snip this. Get that out of the way. Oh man, this is going to be so close. What a killer. I mean, I'm right there, but dang it. All right, well, I'm gonna come back down here. I'm gonna unwrap this, see what I can do, but you get the idea. That's what the process is gonna be like. I gotta see if I can pull an extra loop out somewhere, but anyways, I'm gonna end this for the moment, and we'll come back to you. All right, so after going back and loosening all of this all the way down to the collector, I moved it just top of the collector a little bit further, and that gave me the little bit extra that I needed, and it allowed me to have this be as nice and tight as I could. So definitely took a little bit of experimenting and playing around, but in the end, I think I got it. So, got my tail end here. I'll fold that over, just like we did on the other ones. Maybe cut a little bit of this chafe off. Now I'm going to get one of those stainless steel zip ties. Got that on there. Go ahead and try to tighten this guy down. All right, there we go. It's wrapped. Doesn't look all that bad. It's nice and tight. Now I am going to go ahead and just kind of try to pull this even tighter down at the bottom, and then I'm going to throw another zip tie on it. You can see I tore my glove nicely, but it's all right. And this way we know we're going to remain nice and tight at the bottom too. And then we're going to go ahead and dress it up with more zip ties as we go around. And then we're going to let it dry. Once it's dry, we're going to hit it with the DEI paint and go from there. So let me get some more zip ties on this guy just to kind of cinch everything up. And we will let it dry overnight and we'll pick up in the morning. All right, so there are the wrapped headers. You can get a nice view of them. I think the wrap turned out pretty good. I ended up putting them in the oven at 175 for a couple of hours last night just to fully dry them out and cure them. And it's nice and tight. So this is what I've got. I got this DEI high temp silicone paint and coating that's specifically made for header wrap. So I'm going to go ahead and give a couple of coats of this to the header itself, just to kind of go ahead and seal up the wrap, so that way it won't absorb any moisture and oil and fuel or whatever else may potentially land on it. So I'm going to get this painted. It's a nice aluminum color, so it should look all right. But let me get this started and we'll check in a few. All right, well, there it is. So this is, I want to say 6 coats of paint. I ended up using the whole can. It said to, do light coats with it, so that's what I did. And it's got a lot of paint on it, which is good. I think that probably you would use that whole can on a pair of headers, not just a single header, but hey, there's plenty of paint on here, so it should be well protected and sealed up from moisture and gas and all that jazz. So the next thing that you're supposed to do is go ahead and toss this onto, or cure it at 400 degrees. It doesn't say for how long, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this on the grill and grill up some header for lunch, and maybe throw a burger on at the same time. But just kidding, I won't do that. But gonna go ahead and put this on there for, I don't know, maybe an hour or so, and at least get it to 400 or more. So that way it gets all cured up. Now once that's done, this will be pretty much ready to go ahead and put onto the car, and then we can bolt the carburetors on, and yeah, then we're almost ready. We're very close. So let me get this cooking, and I will catch up with you in a few. All right, so this guy has been on here for probably about half an hour, and it's actually sitting at about 500 degrees, which isn't bad. So I'll probably just turn this off now and let it cool down, but I think that should be pretty decent. All right, so that's the final baked product. I went ahead and I just kind of set it on in here. I had to kind of just give it a little bit of persuasion just to push it in there because the clearance is super tight. But a buddy of mine told me about that, so I was kind of prepared for it. I can't do a whole lot more because I'm waiting on parts from Spitbits. I actually ordered them back at the beginning of December, and it turns out that they are closed for pretty much the entire month. But I need to get new exhaust manifold stud over here. One of the ones that I have is fine on the engine side, but the nut on there is stripped and won't come off, so got that going for me. But I got other things that I could probably do, so I'll go ahead and I'll get these studs put in for the remaining ones that are good. Maybe we can just hang it, put the gasket on there just for show, just to test fit everything. But yeah, then really it's all about trying to get it buttoned up and get the carburetor put on. So yeah, let's see what it looks like. All right, so put the studs on that I do have, and I put some anti-seize on them when I put them in, and then I laid this new old stock gasket on. And I guess what we'll do is we'll just kind of lift this guy up on and into place just for looks. Not bad. Of course, without that stud down there, I really can't do much with it, but you get the drift. And then after that, the carbs will set on there. All right, well, you know what? Just for shits and giggles, there we go. Well, that looks pretty sharp. I like it. What do you think? Ready to go for a test drive? I think so. All right, I got everything out, so I'm gonna just start doing this. So you have these guys, which are clamps. They come in 2 different sizes. You got the small ones and the large ones. The large ones, from what I can tell, go down here on the 2 middle bottom sections, and the smaller ones go up on top, sort of like that. So I'm gonna just kind of lay these on here. See if we can start kind of getting them all in position for where they're supposed to go. Because these help hold the manifold and the carburetor all on nice and tight with even force and pressure. All right, well, that's going to be it. So I know that the carburetor is just mounted on there and it's not torqued down or any of that jazz, but you get the point. It looks nice, and it's one step closer. So anyways, I'm going to wrap up the video here. A couple things that I'm going to do next while I'm waiting on those parts from Spitbits. I have a camber compensator that I'm going to go ahead and install. I want to do that before I go ahead and actually get the body put on. So while I'm waiting, now is a good opportunity to go ahead and do that. So that'll probably be my next video. I need to build a test stand of some kind. I've already got my gauges mocked up, but I need to figure out my wiring and all that jazz. And then hopefully once all that comes together, we're ready to start this guy. So maybe another couple of weeks we can finally get this puppy started. So anyways, this is me reminding you that when working on project cars like this, make sure you don't order parts around Christmas time because they'll take forever. And also don't be that dreaded previous owner. Cheers.